If you consider yourself a serious student of all that I'm teaching in the world of psychic development and human potential, this is the episode for you. I am going to dive deep into some contemporary terminology that will be important for you to understand and differentiate as you enter into the material in my future episodes that will have to do with getting in touch with your wise self, guides, angels, loved ones, each other, divine consciousness. This is the episode not to be missed, so I'm glad you're here. My name is Constance Messmer. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, and welcome to the Constance Messmer Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.
If you've been following my work, you realize I'm a bit of a word nerd. I am a bit of a wordsmith when it comes to my field of psychic development and human potential by way of the soul senses. I think that some of the language and terminology that's been used is a bit outdated. And so I am going to teach you some new definitions. Perhaps they'll be new to you, so that you can better understand your experiences or where you might want to direct use of your 11 soul senses throughout your life. The way we can get help for struggles that we're going to when working through the planes of psychic potential, right? This is not when you want to go talk to a therapist for a problem. This is when you want to use your 11 soul senses to tune in to the help that is there for you on an internal level, right? On a psychic level, on a soul level. You can either tune in to your own higher consciousness by way of intrapsychic rapport. It is building a harmonious relationship with that part of you that is connected to all that is. Your higher consciousness, your wise self. In the space of intrapsychic rapport, you learn to differentiate your ego mind from your higher self, because it is your higher self that can tap into wisdom that you carry from countless lifetimes, and because you too are connected to all that is. You're an integral part of all that is. And I just want to remind you of that. And so when you're having these experiences that I will teach you in future lessons about tapping into your wise self and listening to your wise self and allowing that part to really guide you in life, that part of you that is connected to your higher consciousness, you will begin, I hope, to live a more authentic life, because you will establish rapport with this part of you. And rapport is a friendly, harmonious relationship, right? And I think sometimes in life, we don't always have a friendly, harmonious relationship with our deepest, truest self. And I want to rekindle that for you in future episodes. So be sure you subscribe to my channel and come back and be involved, because what I'm gifting you with is the presence and present of your innate nature, your most profound self. That's where you use intrapsychic rapport, is when you're building this harmonious relationship with your higher consciousness. So it's those moments that you're engaging the consciousness, the ego consciousness, with your higher conscious self. The next area that you can tune in for help, because certainly you can and should always tune in to what you're getting for yourself. The other area that you can tune in for guidance through use of your soul senses is the area called interpsychic rapport. And inter means from point to point. And so interpsychic rapport is used when you are conversing with one other through the soul senses for your own guidance. So this would be if you're using interpsychic rapport to get information from your loved one on the other side, your guide, your angel, your pet, right? A tree. All of those areas can be engaged in this one-to-one relationship with interpsychic rapport. And those are the times that you would want to just get information for yourself or just have communication from one to another, right? Interpsychic, one to another in those moments. And they're really beneficial. And the only way that you can have those on a soul level and not with your external body senses is when you're using your 11 soul senses. So be sure you become familiar with your 11 soul senses. And I just want to remind you, I have greater teachings, broader teachings on each of your 11 soul senses in my playlist on my YouTube channel. All my content's free, so you might as well take advantage of it. I would if I wasn't me and I wanted to learn this stuff. Intrapsychic rapport is fabulous. That's tuning into wise self, right? Inter is when you're going one to another. And you can do interpsychic rapport with just the benefit of getting information for yourself, connecting to one or more others. Or you can use that same dynamic as a mediumship experience when you are the conduit to deliver information to someone else. This is the really cool part about mediumship with interpsychic rapport. And I'm stressing the interpsychic rapport is because you are meant to establish this one-to-one connection that is on a psychic, on a soul level. So you're using your 11 soul senses to have the conversation, to have the information exchange. But it's got to be rapport. Rapport is friendly and harmonious. When you're doing it as a medium, giving information, whether you choose to connect with someone's loved one that's non-vocal here, four-legged, two-legged, or whatever, right? I'll get into that more on down the line. Or you're using it to connect with loved ones on the other side for them and you're delivering messages as a medium. You do need to recognize the importance of rapport, a friendly, harmonious relationship. Because especially if you decide to use your mediumship skills for delivering messages from their spirit guides to them, bypassing your own spirit guides, then you need to make sure that their spirit guides are someone you want to converse with, right? And have relationship and rapport with. When I used to give readings, and even when I still do, where I act as a medium, right? I don't usually turn to my guides unless I need assistance in the delivery of the content or adjusting my frequency and my comprehension to the material. It's really important that you enter into the material as its own thing, and the material being the information as it comes through. But when I give information to another in a mediumship situation, whether I'm tuning into their loved ones here or far, or if I'm tuning into their guides to get information for them, it's important to me that I establish a harmonious relationship with that being, because in those spaces of, for me building rapport, it's with a deep and great respect. First of all, I use that awareness of clairsensation and clairsentiment to decide whether or not I actually want to enter into an experience with them. Don't forget, I get a lot of my information when I give mediumship sessions. I get a lot of it empathically. And wait till I teach you about mediumship. That'll be fun. And so it's important that I can trust the being that I'm connecting with. And so when I go to deliver the information, I need to respect them and their wishes. Because as I've told you in previous lessons, it's important that you recognize your job is to deliver what they want to say. Certainly you can ask them evidential mediumship, but it's really important that you respect what it is they want to share. And I'm not even an energetic voyeur for people that have passed. I let them lead the conversations. Other than asking them for evidence, I let them have the field and they get to deliver through me what they want to deliver through me. And I will listen deeply and care. And I've worked on building rapport in those moments with those beings that want to converse and use me as a medium to deliver messages, whether they're guides or loved ones, for the person that has come for the session. And even in friends, right? For friends, not paid things, but as in when I just take it into my day-to-day personal life and I realize, oh, I'm getting this guidance for you. Do you want to hear it? Right? When I'm not actually functioning as a practitioner, I use it often. Your 11 Soul Senses, a journal for self-discovery, is something I created just for you. It is complete with definitions, writing prompts, and blank journaling pages to help you reconnect with your true essence and your soul sense abilities. To get your copy, visit my shop or go to constancemessmer.com. And thanks for tuning in. So the rapport is important when you're getting mediumship guidance for another through an experience of interpsychic rapport. And again, it's you to spirit, but it becomes mediumship when you deliver it as a message. And it becomes channeling when you allow spirit to use your body to get the information across so that you are not mincing words or misinterpreting, or, they don't have to use your database of memory or experiences to relay a message. Channeling is when you allow them being spirit or someone's loved one. I've let people's loved ones come through and use my body to illustrate mannerisms and behaviors and even laughs sometimes, or tried to hook in with the accent or language. That's been tricky. I'm always willing to try, right? New things. That's how we learn. So I don't know that that's necessarily my forte, the sinking in and letting them speak through me language-wise, although I've done it a few times. So those are areas that I definitely like to differentiate: mediumship and channeling. Channeling is when you allow them to come through and maybe write through you. Some of you might be artists that channel your art from other spaces, but I would encourage you to ask, who's directing this? Where's this coming from? Who's directing it? Is it your own soul from another incarnation, or is it another being that wants to use your body as a vehicle to give material through to the earth at this time or whatnot? I think oftentimes people act as channels of divine wisdom and divine consciousness and angelic guidance all the time. They might not recognize it as such, but they get caught up in delivering maybe words, and they're like, whoa, what did I just say? Where did that come from? And in those moments, I would question, are you channeling? Did you kind of get so caught up in God or caught up in the angelic spaces that you allowed them to speak through you? I think we do these things all the time without recognizing it. And my work is always about having you recognize it, these moments, so that you can be empowered by them, so that I can validate your experiences. And I think that the language sometimes in the dictionaries or even online is inadequate. I think some of it's outdated. I think some of it's actually, dare I say, does damage to the experience because you think it's really supposed to be one way. Take me in the definition of intuition. I have been using it as it's defined in the dictionary, and I've decided I just have to start spreading the what the true definition of intuition should be. If you're going to relate it to use of 11 soul senses, then the definition falls short. The current definition in 2025 falls short, and it needs to step up, needs to change. It needs to come with contemporary times, because I believe with proper terminology, you can strengthen your psychic abilities. We all have to be on the same page, so to speak. So I think that the more you get grounded in use of proper terminology, the more you'll call the experiences to you, and the more you will comprehend the future lessons that I'm going to bring to you. So, these are the important terms that I want to teach you now. Intrapsychic rapport is when you build a harmonious relationship from your ego consciousness, to your or with your higher consciousness. That part of you that is connected to wise self, that is connected to all that is, that can guide you in any moment you seek answers or information. It's there. It's part of you. It's that beautiful part of your soul that's connected to all that is. So in future lessons, I'm gonna help you tap into that. And the other term I wanted you to kind of grok and get used to is interpsychic rapport. Inter, from one to another, or one to another, one other or more. And that you either use that to converse and communicate with a guide or an angel or a loved one. And you also use it when you give mediumship sessions. Intrapsychic rapport is this experience that happens within your own self, within your own soul entirely, right? Where inter means it's your soul to another soul. Maybe think of it that way. That's the best way, probably, right? So interpsychic rapport is when you get guidance from outside of yourself. Divine consciousness, angels, guides, any other, a tree, an animal, a loved one. It's also interpsychic rapport if you're conversing on a higher conscious level with your non-vocal pal or child or adult parent. I remember one time having the experience of interpsychic rapport with a man that was in a coma. And I first conversed with him to make sure I could converse with him, and asked for evidence and proof that it was a solid connection. He's laughing now because he's talking to me. And then I switched it to mediumship and delivered the message to his wife. He has since passed, but it was really important that he got those messages to me and I passed them along to her while he was alive and in the hospital bed in the coma. Did I ever tell you that story? It was really powerful. Should I tell you? Wow. I'm asking spirit at the same time, should I say this story? It was one of those things where, they didn't know he could be in the coma for a very long time and need assisted living in a facility, and it would have drained finances, right? And so there came up the conversation of, should they get a divorce? Because she had a long life to live. And then maybe that would allow her to keep the home, to put it that way. And when I was connecting with him, I didn't know that they were thinking that. But one of the things he said to me to tell her while I was engaged in this interpsychic rapport, this particularly mediumship session, was he said, "Tell her till death do us part." And I said to her, "Listen, he's saying till death do us part." And then the message stopped. "Do you understand that? Because I can ask him for more." She said, "I know exactly what he's talking about." And so within a few days, he died, right? And she was still married till death do they part. I'm getting chills and goosebumps. Wow. So, and in that moment, I could have accessed other meanings to that, or what he meant by that. I could have accessed that information in other ways, which I'll tell you in my mediumship lessons that I do, and in my future book, Mesmer on Mediumship. But I was very respectful, and I stopped when he asked me to stop. Just tell her that. I'm like, okay, just tell her that. So there's a lot of ways that you can use your 11 soul senses to enhance your life and understand your human potential, because there is a lot more happening on a soul level while you're here on the planet, right? The soul's eternal, but it's you here now. The body's just a vessel to hold it. And I just want you to tap into it more so that you can see the most amazement that's there, right? The biggest thing is trust. The biggest thing is putting the lessons to practice and really, documenting how it's working for you with the 11 soul senses and tuning in. And it's really also understanding the vocabulary, the proper terminology, so that you can differentiate the experiences. That's why I teach 11 soul senses, because, it's not all lumped as intuition or clairvoyance. You get the information in a lot of different ways, in 11 to be exact. And some of them are psychic and some of them are empathic. And I want you to know that. So I'm going to remind you about that in future episodes too, because I think we need to revisit that. It's important. So I believe you can do this. I do. And so I just want you to know the language. So to help you with that, I'm going to, have some places where you can find the language. I'll have the language on my website, constancemessmer.com. I'll have the language and terminology on my social media outlets, so the platforms. So make sure you like and follow and subscribe so that I can further empower you for your potential. Because, wisdom, knowledge is power, right? And super knowledge is super powerful. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Constance Messmer here. I just want to do a shout out of big thanks to all the members. I am so grateful. And all the people dropping in and giving little super thanks and all that stuff. I really appreciate you. You members and you people contributing and subscribers are what help me bring this content to everyone, really. So every little bit helps. And I am filled with gratitude that you're stepping up. There are environmental issues in other organizations that I contribute to because I like to see them persevere. And I'm hoping you feel the same about this work. I hope you put it into practice in your life and help change our world, which is what I think it ultimately does. As you know, I think if everyone tuned into their soul senses, the world would be a much better place. So when you subscribe, it's a big yes vote for the content. When you put the lessons into practice and subscribe and like and share, you help me help you carry the lesson beyond you and me. And I am just really grateful.